A House Republican is dropping his reelection bid this year after pressure from House leadership to do so.
Representative Tony Gonzalez is officially out of the race for the Texas 23rd congressional seat after he was accused of having an affair with one of his staffers, who later died by suicide. Those allegations stemmed in part from a leaked text exchange between the congressman and the former aide, where she tells him several times that he's going, quote, too far, and raises concerns that she was only hired because he was attracted to her. The aide's husband later revealed that her mental health declined sharply after the affair ended, and she was found critically burned near her home last September. Just this week, Gonzalez acknowledged for the first time that he did have that affair and denied that he had anything to do with her death in an interview with conservative radio host Joe Pags. Take a listen.
I made a mistake, and I had a lapse in judgment, and there was a lack of faith, and I take full responsibility for those actions. Since then, I've reconciled with my wife, Angel. I've asked God to forgive me. This whole notion that I had anything to do with her death. I had absolutely nothing to do with her tragic passing. And in fact, I was shocked just as much as everyone else.
Several of his colleagues have called for Gonzalez's resignation in recent weeks, which he has declined to do, but that hasn't stopped Congress from taking action. Republican leadership announced yesterday that the Ethics Committee has launched an investigation into the affair and applauded Gonzalez for cooperating. They also urged him to drop his bid for re-election, which he did this morning.
It comes as the House just voted down a bill that would have made public all reports of sexual misconduct or harassment against members of Congress. The bill, spearheaded by South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace, was drafted in response to the leaked text messages between Gonzalez and his former aide. And Mace was not quiet in her criticism of the more than 300 members of the House who voted to kill her bill. She launched a series of posts on X condemning her colleagues who voted against the bill, several of which named the nay voters, and directly after the vote, they wrote, quote, "Our resolution to expose predators in Congress was killed. Your government is more concerned with protecting predators than protecting women. The establishment watches out for itself. Remember this when they ask for your trust. This is what corruption looks like." But some members who voted against it pushed back when asked on X why she voted no. Democratic darling Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez explained in a lengthy post, quote, "The idea is good, but the text itself was rushed and not thought through. It violated a lot of standard practices to protect survivors and due process. If the text was clean, I think you'd get a lot more support. As a survivor, I know why the vast majority of women never report at all. And a lot of those reasons, even if unintentionally or inadvertently, were included here." So I think that was a fair, to turn around legislation like this quickly is fair when you think about the nuances. I guess on face value, to protect women, it seems like that should be an automatic yes. But if you read it and it's kind of outing anybody who maybe didn't want to be known for something that happened to them in Congress, it could turn into a total, just a poor experience for people that are trying to further their career and were attacked in that way by somebody who's preying on them in a higher position, which is already against the rules in the House.
Right. So our taxpayer dollars go towards these investigations. And so I think if they are found to be credible, then they should be released. But what I don't want is for people who are falsely accused to have their names dragged for under this bill when they didn't really do anything wrong. If the investigation finds that they're cleared, then I don't think that there's a legitimate reason for them to have this accusation released and the public sort of turning it into a witch hunt. On the Tony Gonzalez question, oh my gosh.
I know.
Okay,
It's
so
terrible.
I've been following this story for a while because I heard from some people who are familiar with Texas politics that apparently this affair was kind of a well-known thing around Texas circles. And when she died by self-immolation, people started sharing the fact that they had apparently been having a romantic relationship, which he has since confirmed. Initially, his office would not answer any questions about it. And it's just a really tragic story. Apparently what happened is that her husband found out about the affair, left her, tried to take the kids. She spiraled. She set herself on fire in her backyard. There's actually security footage of it from her home cameras. And according to the autopsy that we obtained, she had burns on almost 100% of her body. Wow. Just horrific. And this guy didn't even go to her funeral. He didn't even go to her funeral. And then throughout the initial primary race against his challenger, Brandon Herrera, was talking about this story as if it were a politically opportunistic smear and not just an acknowledgement that he's a bad person.
Right.
Just really disgusting all around.
And I really uniformly think there should be a call for internally within your own party. If somebody is doing the wrong thing, it shouldn't just be, and I know there are some people in the Republican Party that called him to resign, but not only don't run, an overwhelming call to resign immediately. The only problem with possibly him resigning is the fact that there's a loophole in ethics investigations, as you know. Like if somebody opens the investigation and they're going through with it and the public doesn't get a chance to see the results, it would be because he probably left office, and so the investigation doesn't continue. And so there's a point of keeping him there to continue the investigation, but even if he leaves prior to it being resolved, the public may never see the results if they wanted to know what the full dots were connected, to see if there's any cause for criminal look into this further, because the point of these investigations is to lay out the information for further action if it needs to be taken. And I just think with this, we have little accountability, because not only does he have the confidence to continue doing podcasts and not resign, but also I'm not sure how much we'll get from this ethics investigation.
It's also wild that amid all of these reports that he was still able to advance to a runoff in the first place. It should have been a no-brainer that people did not vote for him, and it's very disturbing that he was still able to get in that runoff threshold against Brandon Herrera. Some of the polls that I was seeing in the weeks leading up to it had Herrera up like 15, 20 points. So I don't know if it was just name ID, people didn't hear about it, but I'm glad that I did the right thing and dropped out of this race. I mean, I'm sure a lot of it was due to political pressure.
Right.
I mean, who knows whether or not he was doing this for the right reasons, leaving the race, but just this whole story is so disturbing.
And I think everybody has to have a barometer for like what morality is the minimum that they will accept. And so even if a candidate has a list of things that they may advance as far as positions or ideas or bills that you really are into and the messaging that they're sending, is it worth losing the morality to that level that he has displayed already? The character, to me, matters a lot about leadership. And as people continue to pursue opportunities, I know the world has gotten very like showy with the antics and everything, but we have to remember like real people are impacted. When you talked about her husband and the kids that they have, and the fact that her death was so horrific, and the fact that he didn't even attend the funeral, I mean, these are all moral failures. And I think that that is something that people who liked his policies that maybe, or didn't know about them, maybe it shows us all that we could spend a little more time researching who's running, but also spend a little more time holding people to the fire as far as being morally decent when we put them in big positions.
And I'm not even the type of person that like looks to a politician to be, my moral guideline, but I think there is like a basic level that you would expect from someone who is serving in public office. Not necessarily because they need to be a role model or anything, but just because the decision making here was so poor. If that's your level of judgment, how does that impact the way that you're operating politically on the Hill?
Right, exactly. As the GOP primary for Texas Senate race heats up, Attorney General Ken Paxton says he would consider dropping out, but only if certain demands are met. Stay with us.